number of people to witness the ceremonies, and also, I suspect, to give occasion for double the number of speeches. Our departure was delayed at least half an hour by the tardiness of Signor Gronchi. That was unfortunate, as we could have used this time to better advantage at the Vatican than in the lobby of the Grand Hotel. Finally, the procession started under motorcycle escort. We were fortunately seated with Professor and Madame Marou, a charming and witty couple from Paris, who exchanged quips with us all the way. At the Vatican, we were taken in charge by Swiss guards, wearing their traditional uniform designed by Raphael, and conducted to the imposing Sala Regia, where, since the pontificate of Paul III, the popes have received crowned heads. It is decorated by paintings illustrating the history of the papacy, including the donations of Charlemagne, Otto I, and the King of the Lombards, doubtless designed to convey useful hints to royal visitors. Over the door to the Sistine Chapel is an immense fresco of the Battle of Lepanto by Vasari. I would dearly have liked to examine it closely, but there was no opportunity. The papal throne was established against the north wall, backed by paintings representing scenes of violence, which were in strange disaccord with the character of John XXIII and the ceremony we were about to witness. I afterward learned that they represented the assassination of Admiral Coligny, and Charles IX joyfully receiving the news thereof. The Balzan and Italian state officials were placed on the right of the papal throne, we four laureates in the front row facing it, and the ladies parallel to a group of about 10 cardinals, among whom bearded Eugenio Cardinal Tisserand and Gregorio Cardinal Agagianian were conspicuous. A number of bishops and monsignori were seated at right angles to us, facing the cardinals, and with the papal throne on their right. The Russian laureate, Andrei Kolmogorov, a very pleasant, gentlemanly scholar, who could pass as English, asked me, "Qui sont ces messieurs habillés en rouge?" Who are these gentlemen dressed in red? Paul Hindemith, short and bald, and Karl von Frisch, scholarly and distinguished, with long grey hair that stood up straight, were in the same row with me, all self-consciously wearing our medals and chains. Every other man in the audience was either in uniform or tails, with white tie, wearing all the decorations he could muster. The few ladies were in black Vatican court dress, with black veil or mantilla. Even the privileged photographers, to our great amusement, wore white ties and tails, but they behaved much like photographers elsewhere, squirming about and spoiling the view for the audience in order to get good pictures for their papers. After a brief interval, a curtain to the door of the Sala Ducale was drawn back, and Pope John XXIII entered the Sala Regia on foot, preceded by a colonel of the Swiss Guards. The colonel looked remarkably like a 16th-century condottiere, wearing beautifully chased armour with a white-plumed steel helmet, red velvet breeches, and red stockings. The Pope was escorted by a detachment of the Swiss Guard, also in steel corselets, and by some 20 members of his household. The clergy were in scarlet cassocks, the cameriere con capa e spada, gentlemen chamberlains, wore 17th-century black costumes with gold embroidery on their tunics, starched ruffs about their necks, and swords, looking like Spanish gentlemen in El Greco's paintings. The Pope walked to his throne. A young priest in scarlet, kneeling, provided him with a footstool. On his right, throughout the ceremony, stood 2 prelates, the one on his right hand being his major domo, Monsignor Calori di Vignale, tall, lean, and ascetic, wearing an habitual scowl, which suggested that he disapproved of the whole thing, but probably reflected his anxiety over the Pope's health. Grim Monsignor Vignale, however, was offset by a smiling, plump, and rosy prelate on his right, Archbishop Venini, the Pope's privy almoner. On the left of the Pope stood Monsignor Nasale Rocca di Corneliano, the Maestro di Camera, who acted as master of ceremonies, gesturing to the music, violins mostly, to start or cease. On his left,